Welcome, Lund loyalists, to the John Lund Unleashed Warriors post-game show. Shout out to those watching on YouTube, on the John Lund Unleashed and Bay Area Sports collective channels, viewers on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and Lundos listening to the podcast on Apple and Spotify. John Lund Unleashed, brought to you by 𝐟𝐸𝐵 Sports Medicine. Got pain? Check out our revolutionary stem cell treatments and guys. If low T is bringing you down, 𝐟𝐸𝐵 Sports Medicine can put you back in the game. Now with the scoop on the Warriors, here's Johnny.
There you go. The Rockets making a series blast off game 5. This was a blowout. This was over early. Actually, in the first quarter, 40-24. The Rockets had 13 free throws in the first quarter. They came out, the aggressors, and sometimes you got to give the other team credit rather than bitch and moan about what your team didn't do, and that is the case here. The Rockets were just flat out better than the Warriors. That's what it comes down to. It's a 3-2 series. The Rockets 131-116 over the Warriors, and let's be honest, it wasn't that close. 76-49 at the half, 40-24 after the first quarter. The Rockets looked like a team that was desperate and down 3-1. The Warriors looked fat and happy and looked like a team that was up 3-1, but now it's a series. Houston, I'm sure, has confidence. I'm not sure that the Warriors lack confidence or anything like that, and really the only good thing is that the Warriors rested their starters. 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐿, knowing that there is no tomorrow for the Rockets, had to bring back his starters a little bit against Pat Spencer and the boys. Spencer got booted late in that game. Game is so soft, man. When Danny Ainge and Tree Rollins were going at it and all this kind of stuff, and a little bit of a headbutt, so what? And 𝐮𝐬𝐿 act like he got shot. And anyway, that's just the way the NBA is, and now I just need to get over it. But anyway, that's what it was. 131-116, no love lost, 76-49 at the half. Love to get your thoughts. And now it's a series, and I'm watching right now the Lakers and Minnesota. Minnesota got off to a 12-5 start in that game. They were ready. They know that it's going to be tough to eliminate LeBron and Luka and all those kind of things, and the Warriors just didn't match it. But more than that, rather than playing the blame game, honestly, Houston was ready. They came out hot. Jalen Green is the X factor for this team. He got a three-point play right off the gate. Somebody might want to tell the Warriors that Fred VanVleet is hot. He has 12 threes. He had 4 threes in the first half. He had 8 in game 4. He had 12 threes in his last 6 quarters of the half, because basically the game was over at the half at 76-49. So you hear me make a lot of reference to the first half and not a lot of reference to the second half, other than the fact that Pat Spencer and Trayce Jackson-Davis and Key and some of these other guys that came in, and Moses Moody kind of led the way there. They played hard. The game was already over. I think the number was, and I watched the TNT broadcast, not the local broadcast, but Candace Parker kept asking, what's the number? What's the number? The number's 10. They get it 10 and below that point with about 4 minutes left. They were going to bring their starters back in. They didn't want to have to, because you got veterans. You got to warm them up. There could be a muscle strain, a pull, anything like that. I'm sure there were some fans screaming at the TV to get these guys back in, but it just wasn't going to happen that way unless they really thought they might be in the game, and under 10 is that number. Steph Curry took off the ankle braces and then rushed to ask them back, but really that had no bearing on the game. They weren't going to come back at that particular point, and give the guys off the bench credit for not giving up. But what else were they supposed to do? This game was it was won and lost in the first half. As I looked at the first quarter, Houston with that big run, Houston had an 8-0 run. It was 13-8 Houston, 8-0 run there. Also had a big run. Let's see, what was the other big run in that one? 23-5 run in that first quarter. In there, and VanVleet was just rolling. It was 31-13 at one point, a 26-5 Houston run with 4.5 left in the first quarter, 13 for 13 from the free throw line. Remember how much Houston struggled in game 4 from the free throw line. They did not zone, gave the Warriors a little bit of trouble in that thing, and then the second quarter just kept going, 54-24 at 6:53. The second quarter, Golden State had missed 8 consecutive shots. 14-0 run at that point to make it 54-24. And the Warriors, as I wrote in my notes here, they just look slow. The Rockets looked like they were more intense. They wanted the game more, but the Warriors just look slow. Curry didn't hit his first shot until about 6 minutes left in the second quarter, and it was 55-32 at that point. Jimmy Butler hit a free throw at 4:34 left in the second quarter. That was his first point. He had a layup and an and one to get his first field goal at 61-40 with 2:57 left in the first half. It was 1 for 7 at that point. Rockets shot 69% of the half and led 76-49. We'll get into all these different things. The bottom line is I believe it's a series now. I think the Warriors are going to win game 6. You and I talked about this, but I would say it's a series. I think that we are at that point, and this is why I like to put young teams away early, is that you don't want to give them more experience. You don't want to give Amen Thompson playoff experience. He played really well tonight on both ends of the floor. You don't want to give Jalen Green a rhythm to get back into things. You don't want to let Fred VanVleet continue to be hot like he is. You might have to start making some adjustments, and now you got 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐽. Okay, we got to adjust now because VanVleet's hitting shots. The Rockets are getting their defense together. They're playing, and they played tonight at their pace, so they were up and down the floor. Remember the first couple of games, we're not game 2, but when the Warriors have won, they've made Houston a half-court team, and it makes it really difficult. 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐽's good in the half-court. They'll let him go crazy, but Houston has struggled in the half-court in the first half, specifically in this game. They were getting up and down the floor. They were playing at their pace. They were playing with a lot of energy, and the Warriors just couldn't match it. And then at one point, it was just, when are you going to pull the starter? So 131-116, give me your keys, this whole thing. I think it was just the way that Amen Thompson defended Steph Curry, who just couldn't get off anything early in the game. I think it was just Houston playing at their pace and playing with a lot more energy in this game. Physicality, this wasn't as physical as the series had been, I think, because it got so out of control so early in this thing that really the physicalness was like, well, what are we going to do here? I like that they fought back, and Pat Spencer and that whole group. I did not think that they should bring the guys back. Maybe that's a question that you have as early. If they got it under 10 with about 3-4 minutes left in the game, then it was a ball game and you bring your guys back. But I've seen this happen before, and as a general rule, you reward those guys for playing really hard and really well, and you don't yank them at the first chance. It just is how it is. So if they had gotten that thing under 10 with about 4 minutes left, I think Steve Kerr would have called the timeout and gotten them back in, and they could have done that. They missed 3 or 4 bunnies right at the rim. Kevin Knox missed one, 𝐾 missed one, Trayce Jackson-Davis missed one. I mean, they were getting a ton of offensive rebounds, and they got that thing close. Had they gotten it under 10, I think the Warriors would have brought it back. But the bottom line is this: it's now a series. At least that's what I think. Do I think they're going to win game 6? I do. But I think it's a series now, and what Houston is doing is, essentially in their mind, we've got to win one game. You know, you win one game back here in game 6, and I know what Ime Udoka is doing. He's doing, you know what, this month, now it'll be next month tomorrow, but this month we won a game in this building. We won on April 6th. So within a month of them, and that's what he's going to be saying on the plane right here, we beat these guys, right? They beat them by 10 at Chase Center. That's when Steph Curry had his worst career game, playing 30-plus minutes. He was, 3 of 10 from the field, 1 of 10 from 3. And Ime Udoka is going to be saying, we won here less than a month ago. Now, that was the regular season, totally different, but they stopped Steph Curry. They won by 10, and what he's saying to his team is, you did that, you can do it again, and then game 7 is an absolute crapshoot. We know that. So, look, I think the Warriors are going to step up. I think they're going to have the proper intensity. I don't think they did tonight. That's rather surprising. But rather than complain about what the Warriors did not do, I think you got to give credit to what Houston did. 13 free throws, 13 for 13 from the free throw line after struggling at the free throw line in game 4, which essentially and directly led to that loss. I think that means 2 things. Udoka was saying you can't miss these free throws in the playoffs, 1, but 2, let's be the aggressor. And when you get 13 free throws in the first quarter, you're the aggressor. And that's just what happened. Let's say hello and do roll call to everybody. We'll hit up the chalkboard. Love to get your thoughts on this thing, on the series itself, on the way Houston defends Curry. Butler and Curry struggled again. Neither of them scored until late in the second quarter, and this game was pretty much over even at that point. I got to be honest with you, I wasn't taking a ton of notes in the second half until the backups came in and started playing pretty well, and the only storyline that was around there was if they get close enough, when will they bring guys back? And would that be a wise move anyway? Because, again, you're talking about guys. Jimmy Butler's got an injury. Steph, guys like that, Draymond Green, you don't want those guys coming back after sitting for 10 or 15 minutes and then possibly, pulling something or anything like that. So if anything positive came from tonight, Houston had to actually bring their starters back in. They're younger. They can do it, and the Warriors did not. So I don't know if that's going to mean anything, and we talk about rest all the time in this series. So 131-116, Warriors lose it. It is your post-game show with me, John Lund. John Lund Unleashed. Thanks for joining us. We are on YouTube tonight. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, Bay Area Sports Collective on YouTube as well. No Tolbert tonight, by the way, on the Bay Area Sports Collective. Tommy and the crew, they are traveling back tonight on the plane. So no beers in the hotel room for Tom. You'll have to just put up with me. So Bay Area Sports Collective. Tommy, I think Tommy and I are going to get together. Keep your alerts on tomorrow on the Bay Area Sports Collective and on John Lund Unleashed, because we're going to do kind of an afternoon. So I'll do my morning show, 8 to 10 Pacific time in the morning tomorrow, and on John Lund Unleashed, the Bay Area Sports Collective on X. If you're watching on X, welcome tonight at John Lund Radio. But I'll be doing the normal show tomorrow at 8 a.m. Pacific, but then Tom and I are going back and forth on doing an early afternoon kind of post show and get his thoughts. I do not have a text yet, but at some point, I'm thinking around noon, 1 o'clock, I'll jump back on with Tom tomorrow. So make sure you're up on the Bay Area Sports Collective and here. So let me get your thoughts. Good evening. Good evening. Christopher is here. Miguel is here. Hi, Pine Needle. Good to see you. Jake. Joy is always a joy, and she is here tonight. John Joseph, you are the best. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight and us in our chat room. We have got a great chat room, by the way. Kenneth is here tonight. Kenneth, good to see you. My friend, Scott. Hello, Scott. What's going on, everybody? Yeah, you can tell me what you're drinking. By the way, Scott's got an IPA, hazy IPA. Oh, I love hazy IPAs, man. That's very nice. So tell me, is this a series to you, or is this, hey, it's game 5. The Rockets were fired up. They were gonna go fishing. They were gonna go to Cancun. They weren't quite ready to pull the golf clubs out. The Warriors maybe not proper intensity tonight, even though I like to give more credit to the Rockets than say that the Warriors didn't do something. I think it was just the Rockets saying, look, we don't want to end the season yet. And they didn't. So I think that was more so what happened tonight. To me, it is a series, because now we're coming down to one thing, which is the Warriors have home court advantage in this series. They're up 3-2. The game's on their court. There's no excuse for an experienced team at this level. Championships with Draymond Green and Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler's been there before. There's enough experience, and Steve Kerr's coached there obviously before. This team should close out the Rockets in game 6. If they do not, then the Rockets, I think, are the team that, I don't believe in momentum, by the way. Again, I was watching the TNT broadcast, and Candace Parker is incredibly smart and knows the game really, really well. But she mentioned momentum. And she said at the end of the game, when the bench Warriors were making a run, and she said, the Rockets don't want to let the Warriors get any momentum. Momentum doesn't go game to game. I've seen 40-point blowouts in the finals, and then the next time out, the other team wins by 20. It just doesn't work that way. It's a whole new game. Every game has its whole new unique storylines and DNA, and it just doesn't work like that. You come out the next time with proper intensity. You come out like your season is on the line, like the Rockets did tonight. And for the Warriors, for all intents and purposes, to me, it is on the line. It's going to be really difficult to go to the Rockets, to go to Houston. You're playing every other day now. I wanted to avoid this scenario, and they still can with a game 6 win, but you want to avoid that scenario, playing so much every other day. I've mentioned this many times on the show. If the Warriors are going to go far in this thing, it's about ending series early and getting proper rest. Steve Kerr said it before the playoffs started, said it about Draymond Green. Green's playing the 5. They got some rest tonight. And if they have to play a game 7 in Houston, like we said, anything can happen. And they've got it on their home court, which doesn't mean the Warriors can't do that. They've done that before. Some of these guys have. Curry has, Draymond has, Kerr has, Jimmy hasn't here. So, yeah, do I expect them to play like their hair's on fire in game 6? I do. I expect the series to be over, but I'm not going to sell the Rockets short, because what's starting to happen with the Rockets, and you can see it, is confidence is growing. And really where it started was 𝐮𝐬𝐮. He's going to do what he's going to do. It was a punk-ass move at the end of the game, but whatever. He's going to do what he's going to do. He's a really good player. But Fred VanVleet is starting to play like the veteran guy who's won a championship himself. I wouldn't say that Jalen Green's coming around, but he had a couple of moments tonight. Amen Thompson is understanding his role in this series, which is, as he did in that final game in which they won at Golden State in the regular season, and he was a big part of shutting down Steph Curry. He's doing that again. His length, he had a couple of steals early in the first quarter, which kind of set a tone in this game, but he's around the rim. He's not a great shooter or anything like that, but he's just one of those guys that around the rim, he can make plays. He's a very good defender. Obviously, he's a tremendous athlete. He's starting to get his footing in his first playoff series. You don't want to do that. You don't want to let Houston, a young team, start to gain confidence, because 𝐮𝐬𝐿 already knows Jalen Green is still very hot and cold, but Amen Thompson's playing well. Dylan Brooks had a nice game tonight, even though I'm loath to give him any credit. It was a blowout game, so we'll see. In crunch time, he generally doesn't come through, especially offensively, but it's going to start getting chippy. They know that they can get to these guys. The Warriors are going to get frustrated if this thing goes in a certain kind of direction. So they got to come out early in Game 6, set the tone like the Rockets did tonight. Let the Rockets realize that they're just not going to be in this game, and that's the way it's just going to be. They've got to do that, because going back to Houston in Game 7, that wouldn't be fun. I mean, you can win it, but that wouldn't be fun. So let's see what everybody's saying about the game. Is it a series, or do you have the immense amount of confidence that the Warriors are going to come back in this thing? What is happening? 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐽 is a busta. Yeah, he's good. I mean, they don't have anybody to cover. I mean, I don't care about, early in the game when it was a game, it really wasn't a game for very long, because in the first quarter, again, it was 40-24. But Draymond Green is a great player. He really is a great defensive player, and he deserves to be on all defense first teams. But there are matchups, as I told you again and again and again in playoff series, and this is a terrible matchup for the Warriors. They don't have a guy. They don't, who can deal with this guy. He's extremely talented. He's got great footwork inside. He's a badass offensive rebounder. He has it all, and the Warriors don't have that guy. So in the offseason, when they trade Jonathan Kuminga and try to get Miles Turner or somebody like that, and Turner's a free agent, and he's a player that the Warriors have been talking about forever, and he can shoot it on one end, and he's a good defender on the other. I wouldn't call him elite, but he's a good defender. He's a good shot blocker on one end. If I'm the Warriors, and whenever I get knocked out of the playoffs, I'm making that call. I'm making the call to try to get a stretch big who can give me some defense on the other end of the court. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to not play Jonathan Kuminga, which we can get into Kuminga tonight. It's too bad. My thought is it was too bad Kuminga was sick. My thought is, and you hate to do this and speculate, but I think he's sick of not playing for the Warriors. And so, if he was a regular part of the rotation, I got a feeling that Jonathan Kuminga all of a sudden, oh my God, it's a miracle he can play. I think he's like, whatever, and didn't play tonight. It's too bad, because this could have been a game, because Kuminga during the season averaged over 21 points a game against the Rockets, had a career high 33 on December 5th. What if Kuminga goes out tonight on that second unit, and guys don't play him? What if he does break out? What if he did get an under 10 for this team? What if he scored 25 tonight because he had the opportunity and all the pressure was off? And all of a sudden, maybe Jonathan Kuminga gets some confidence, and maybe Steve Kerr says, you know what? Maybe he can play in this series. Maybe there is a spot for Jonathan Kuminga. Maybe he is scrappier than I thought, and he's not. But maybe. I mean, that's just maybe on Jonathan Kuminga. Maybe he got an opportunity to get his confidence back tonight, and he didn't because he was sick. Okay. Maybe he was. You hate to speculate. Maybe the kid was sick. Maybe I'm just being an ass. But I have a feeling that he was sick of not playing and just said, I can't go. All right, give me your thoughts on tonight. Give me your thoughts on the series itself. Is it a series? That is the big question of the postgame show. What else do we have? Skills, you okay, man? What's going on here? Because I'm not going top to bottom. I'm going bottom to top. So what's going on? You all cool? Everything good? As did I. I love that TJ did that. Look, you got to do that for a teammate. And like I said, I'm so sick of flopping in the league. It used to be a thing, and I'm sorry. I don't mean to be get off my lawn guy, and I'm not going to go on that long of a tangent tonight. Give the Rockets a ton of credit. Let me just make sure that that's the lead story in the postgame show tonight. The Rockets were better. The Rockets came out ready. The Rockets didn't want their season to end. The Rockets had 13 free throws in the first quarter and hit them all, unlike Game 4, in which they couldn't hit anything. They were 63, 64%. They were ready. And the Warriors couldn't handle it. I said this morning on the show, I said there's going to be an initial burst, and it's whether the Warriors can survive the burst, and then the game gets on a level playing, and then you go and you play. It never got there. The Warriors after that first run, the Warriors came out, looked pretty good, and then the Rockets just threw a run on, what is it, 8-0? Yeah, it was 8-5 Warriors, and then the Rockets went on an 8-0. And that 8-0 turned into a 26-5 at one point, 31-13. Houston went on that run with 4:30 left in the quarter, and it ended up 40-24. So they had an 18-point lead in the first quarter. They had a 16-point lead at the end of the first quarter. This game was 76-49 at the half. So the Rockets kicked their ass from start to almost finish in this whole thing. So I'm not trying to make an excuse for anything. Just the softness of the league. It used to be like when you got punched in the face, it was like you didn't move. You're like, so you hit me, so what? I mean, Pat Spencer barely even went in on him. Like he kind of gave him a shoulder and Spencer hit him and he acted like, he had been shot. And it was like, it didn't used to be the way. It's just like, and they go through it. It takes 5 minutes, all that whole thing. Playoffs, it used to be just like, go to your corner. You go to your corner. After 5 minutes, we've determined that there are 2 technical fouls and the guy that looks like he should be in the crowd is kicked out of the game. Like, wow, fun, great. It used to be, you got to go to your corner, go to your bench, cool off for 2 seconds, and then let's play ball. Like, stop it. Seriously, just whatever. 𝐮𝐬𝐿, you got barely even tapped in the head. You act like you got shot. Trayce Jackson-Davis did a great job going over and protecting his teammates. And then they got to take 5 minutes to figure it out when it's just like, look, both you guys go to your corners. Don't be headbutting people. Let's play. It's the playoffs, man. Like Steven Adams said this morning, it's the playoffs, man. Just play. I think it's silly. The whole thing is silly. Every time there's some sort of a fracas, it takes 5 minutes for the officials to find something out when I'm sitting on my couch going, okay, that guy, what are you going to do? Offsetting technical fouls? Jesus, really? That's where we are in this league? Offsetting technical fouls. Just let's go. You know what I mean? Let's play. They're getting physical. They're pissed off. Whatever. Anyway. You are correct, sir. Where is that one? Skills VanVLEET wasn't just hitting threes. He was bottom of the net. All of them defenders weren't even there. Yeah, you didn't want to high skills. You don't want to have to make any kind of a adjustment on him. And the only reason I'm saying that is because 𝐮𝐬𝐿 is killing you inside. So if you've got a 2-man game, and that's what the Rockets have had, even though they lost the last game, VanVLEET had 8 threes in that game. He hit 4 in the first half of this game when it was a game. Like I said, after that, it's like whatever. He had 12 threes in 6 quarters. So what's happening is they don't want to double 𝐮𝐬𝐿 anyway, but now if you bring a guy off VanVLEET, and this is where they have to make this adjustment, you can't leave VanVLEET, all right? Jalen Green might be their leading scorer. I don't care. Make Jalen Green prove it. I'm not even going to run at Jalen Green. Give it a shot. Now, the downside of that is if Jalen Green gets hot and gets confidence, he can score as well. But right now, the 2 Rockets that are killing you offensively consistently, 𝐮𝐬𝐿, which you can do very little about, and I don't care if Draymond Green's defensive player of the year, all first team, whatever. It doesn't matter. He's not a good matchup with 𝐮𝐬𝐿, and he's going to continue to do whatever he wants. But Fred VanVLEET can be the X factor in the series for the Rockets. At the beginning of the series, I thought it was going to be Jalen Green because he's young. What's he going to do? He scored 38 in game number 2, but largely for the entire rest of the series, he just hasn't been that big of a factor. To me, the X factor to Houston staying in game 6 is VanVLEET. Is he continue to hit shots at this level? Because it's ridiculous. And so what needs to happen in this case is, obviously you're not taking Curry off the floor, but I think you have to rethink Buddy Hield again. He spaces the floor offensively. That's wonderful. But if he's not hitting shots, as he wasn't tonight, and again, I'll say in the first half of the game when it was 76-49, so I don't care what he did after that, he didn't do anything. And so in office space, like you say, what would you say you do here? Because he doesn't rebound, he doesn't defend, he's not a big ball handler, he's not any of those things. Buddy hits shots. And if Buddy's hitting shots, then he can be a contributor on that night. If he's not, then you got to get some more defenders on the floor, and you got to match, and you got to be physical, and you got to decide, hey, GP2, get in the game. And do not leave Fred VanVLEET. At least cool him off. You got to show him different looks, whatever it is. Maybe you got to use some more size on him, whatever the case. Try Moody, whatever. Did Moody earn some extra time by, he got some burn late in the game, and he was the leader of that unit that brought him back into the game at a certain extent. Maybe that means nothing. It's just garbage time the whole time, which I have a feeling it will be. But if Buddy Hield isn't giving you shots and Fred VanVLEET can't be covered, then GP2 has got to be in the floor, and you got to find out other ways and other combinations, because 𝐮𝐬𝐿 is going to kill you. He's going to get, whatever he's going to get. That's fine. The Warriors thus far in this series have been willing to say, if 𝐮𝐬𝐿 gets us, we're okay with that. It's just not allowing the other guys around him to get hot. And again, let me throw the box score, because I haven't done that. And by the way, welcome in. Warriors lose game 5 in Houston, 131-116. And to be honest, it wasn't even that close. Complete and utter domination, 40-24 at the end of the first quarter, 76-49 Rockets at halftime, 131-116. And some of these numbers are misleading just because of what happened late in this game. But I will say this, at half, let me look at my notes here just real quick, just so I have the number right. And I sent this tweet out earlier. What's the number? Let me go back to that. Let me look real quick, because this just shows you how bad the Rockets were outplaying the Warriors in the first half of this game, and it was 76-49. Let's see, here it is right here. Starters at the half, 76-49. Starters at the half. Houston had 62 points, and the Warriors had 25. Steph Curry didn't score until late in the half. Jimmy Butler didn't score till late in the half, and you can see right there. Brooks, 24. Help me with some math here. Thompson, 25. He was absolutely great on both ends tonight. Dillon Brooks, 24. 15 for 𝐮𝐿. He didn't have to carry much of the weight. 11 for Jalen Green. Again, he hasn't been good other than game 2. And then VanVleet was sick with 26 points. He had 3 guys over 20 points for the Rockets. Curry had 13. He had 11 of those 13 in the second quarter, did absolutely nothing the rest of the game and sat, obviously, for a long time. And then everybody else in the starting lineup, single digits. And that's what I'm saying about Buddy Hield. He only played nearly 18 minutes, but 2 of 6, 0 of 2, 4 points. Look at the rest of it. 1 assist, 1 steal, 2 rebounds. He gives you nothing. So if he's not scoring, Buddy Hield shouldn't be on the floor. And Podziemski was, Podziemski wasn't going to be what he was in game 4, but you need him to be more than he was in game 5. Draymond Green was no factor. Butler, again, just wasn't scoring, wasn't doing anything. I don't know if it has anything to do with the pelvic bruise. Only he could say that, but he would probably tell you if you asked that absolutely not. He wouldn't even acknowledge it. Moody was great with 25. Does that mean that he'll be back into the starting lineup? I think that's something that Steve Kerr is going to have to look at. If not for just looking at Fred VanVleet saying, okay, wait a minute, because Dillon Brooks is not going to score 24 again. Amen Thompson is probably not going to score 25, although he got to the line 9 times tonight, was very good. He just hasn't been that in this series, but he's good for about 15, 17, whatever it is. 𝐮𝐿 can be better than what he was. Jalen Green at this point is what he was tonight, actually. And then the one guy, though, to me, right here, it's Fred VanVleet. I mean, I know 𝐮𝐿's going to give you what he's going to give you. Thompson is going to be an all-around player, but it's this guy. That's the key to the series right there. The way he's shot in the last 2 games has been remarkable. Now, keep in mind, he had 1 3-point make, Fred VanVleet. He had 1 3-point make in the first 3 games of this series. And now he had all 4 of those, by the way, in the first half. And now he has 12 in the last 2 games. And at some point, the Warriors are going to have to say, okay, Jalen Green, whatever. 𝐮𝐿 is what he is. Amen Thompson is more of a, he'll get some offensive rebounds, be a bit of a garbage man. He'll hit some short shots, mid-range stuff, real short, not even mid-range, really. He's a driver, gets to the rim. He won't generally score 25. And Dillon Brooks was hitting tonight, which he doesn't normally do because the pressure was off. So not too worried about that. It's 𝐮𝐿 who's going to get what he's going to get, but it's Fred VanVleet. And if they stay in games, it's going to be because of VanVleet. So to me, the Warriors have to come out with proper intensity, match the physicality, have the pace the way they want the pace to be, keep Houston in the half court. Houston was getting the pace in their favor, especially in the first half. Second half, again, just, whatever. But when it was still a game, which it wasn't for very long in the first half, it was played at Houston's pace. And the Warriors have to play it at their pace. They've got to be tougher, better, more intense, but they've got to figure it out defensively. And to me, that's somebody like GP2. He's not going to keep you completely honest. I understand that. But he did hit a couple of threes, but I'm not going to say GP2 is going to start. But as I look at that thing, Hield can't guard anybody. You got Butler, Green's at a disadvantage, Podziemski scraps, and Curry. So you've got to get somebody who's going to be able to defend Fred VanVleet. And right now, it's not Curry, it's not Podziemski. Obviously, Butler's not going to be in that spot. Buddy Hield's not going to be in that spot. You've got to get somebody. It might be GP2 that you just say, look, he's going to have to play some more minutes because we got to get somebody to slow Fred VanVleet down and just his confidence. His first few games, he wasn't in anything. Again, maybe that's Moody getting inserted back into the starting lineup because he gives you something offensively more than GP2 does, and he gives you some defense, but GP2 is your best perimeter defender, and that would just scream that they got to get him on a Fred VanVleet, especially early, because like any shooter, VanVleet starts to see a couple go down, and he's rocking. And that's what happened in these last couple of games. So anyway, there is the box score tonight, 131-116. As you see in the first quarter, that started everything. 40-24, they got outscored, and it just got uglier from there. I don't know how relevant any of these numbers are. Again, second chance points. It's pretty surprising. Warriors 23-14 when the Rockets led this season in that. Fast break points, it came out 13-11, but in the first half, it was lopsided in the Rockets' favor. And then turnovers, The Warriors had 10 in the first half, so only had 4 in the second half, but they had 10 good for 13 Rockets points in the first half. So they were throwing it all over the place, especially early in the game, which, again, showed you their lack of intensity when the Rockets had a ton. So there you go. There's your thoughts. Warriors lose at 131-116. It's a 3-2 series at this point. Let's see. What else do we got? What do we got? Really good. Yeah, I'll give Kevin Knox some credit, man. There was, Knox was a first-round pick of the Knicks out of Kentucky, and he can obviously play. He missed a couple of short shots that, again, they had some stuff inside where, man, it was like they hit what they missed 3-4 layups, those guys, the backups. If they had hit a couple of those layups, you might have had the starters back on the floor, which ultimately makes you a little nervous. You're going to pull something or something like that, but man. Was not Pod's best night. I'll give you that. Was not Pod's best night. But then you look at game 4 and he was ridiculous. If you could just find some middle ground, that would be great. It's kind of like that, Jalen Green. Like he scores 38, then he scores 7. Like I just want you to be consistent. It's that old adage with me is just I need guys in the bank. I need to know what they're going to do. I don't want you to score 38 and then score 7. Like it kills me. Just kills me you're just sitting there going, come on, man. I just need to know what you are. I don't want to do that. Trace Jackson Davis is like, you know what? And his situation is weird. I mean, you would think in a series like this, he's long. I mean, he's not a shooter. I understand that. He's not a stretch guy, so that's why Quentin Post is playing. I completely understand that. But this is a physical series. This is a series in which you want to slow the Rockets down. They got into their pace. They were blowing them out. They were getting to the rim. They were getting to the free throw line. I don't know. Just Trace Jackson Davis seems like he fits in a series like this to a certain extent. I'm not saying for 20 minutes. I'm just saying, for some stretches to maybe give 𝐮𝐭 a different look, to take Draymond Green out of the 5 and let him play the 4 a little bit, give him a little bit of a rest. I thought Looney might be a big part of this series in that regard as well. Again, not a great shooter. I understand that. But the length of Trace Jackson Davis, I just thought maybe to give 𝐮𝐭 a different kind of a look, and that's not going to happen. But when he gets in there, I mean, early in the season and even to the midway point of the season, I mean, he was a guy that was playing heavy minutes. And all of a sudden, he can't find a minute. So that was kind of cool. But he was ready to go. I mean, unlike when Jimmy got hurt in, game 2, and they said, okay, Kuminga, here's your shot. And Kuminga just wasn't mentally into the game, clearly. Trace Jackson Davis is probably not real happy about his role right now, but he's like, okay, I'm ready to go. Physical series. We got a big guy that's crushing us. Let me see what I can do about that. So, no doubt. They were dropping 3. Yeah, the Rockets early were just smoking the ball from distance. I mean, it was like, okay, this is not their night. There's no question. What else we got tonight? By the way, if you are bored tonight, I will say, I almost said this during the game. If you are bored tonight, I did write a new piece at JohnLundUnleashed.com. If I may just very quickly do a pimp job on my new piece, right there, I think it is. If you do not want to talk Warriors tonight, it's young guys or bust for the 49ers. I broke down a couple of, their drafts and all that kind of stuff. Those are the terrible drafts at 22 and 23, and then just how important the 24 and 25 drafts are. If you would like to not talk about the Warriors and you're like, this game, and I didn't watch the second half, something like that, it was 76-49, so why would you? The only good thing of the second half was the fracas of one Pat Spencer and Trace Jackson Davis against 𝐮𝐭. So if you're not into the Warriors tonight because they were terrible, you can go ahead and check that out at JohnLundUnleashed.com if you would like. Just saying. There you go for that. Let me see if because I can get some stuff in here. Let me just double check. Yeah, Tom says, reminder, no show tonight, flying home after the game. See you tomorrow. Let me see if I can conjure up some sound here. What do we got? By the way, Minnesota 41, Lakers 34, and this is a closeout game. That's how you do it. Jimmy Butler's quote after the game, we're fine. Our confidence isn't going to waver. We're going to start out better and play a better overall game. I think so. I think they will too. I don't think there's any, I don't think that the Warriors are cooked by any stretch of the imagination. I just think it's the opposite. I think that the Rockets, their young players, are getting more playoff experience. They're getting more confidence. That's why, like I said, I thought this was an important game tonight. It's a playoff game, Lund. Of course it's important. But I thought this was an important game for the Warriors just because you don't want to give them any confidence. And, 3-1 feels like just such a hole, right? That you're the other team and you're down 3-1. You're like, man, we're in a massive hole tonight. And what happens is if the other team, the Warriors in this case, come out with proper intensity and they're rocking and rolling and it's a game, and then you start doubting yourself, and you just made it too easy. When it's an 0-2 pitch and 𝐬𝐝 says during Giants game and a non-competitive pitch comes to the plate, and you're like, that was too easy. Too easy of a take. This was too easy of a win for the Rockets. They didn't have to strain or stress for it, and now it's 3-2. And now the pressure goes back to the Warriors, and they're a veteran team, and they're a championship team, and they have that pedigree and all those kind of things, but here's where it should come about, is because now it's 3-2. Because if you give the Rockets, or if the Rockets win this game, and look, in game 4, they were in that game. They had a chance to win that game. Fred VanVleet had a shot after hitting 8 threes, had a shot in the corner, and I thought, that thing's going in. Should have fouled him, didn't go in. They survived it. But the Rockets won in this building less than a month ago and have confidence that they can win there because they were close in game 4. So you just gave more confidence to this team. Fred VanVleet's rocking. They're playing better defense, and all of a sudden now they're walking in your building. And the way I see it, at least, and I'm sure the Rockets see it this way, is we win here, we're going back home for a game 7. So all of a sudden it's gone from a 3-1 series. Obviously, we do a 3-2 series, but now you go back to their play. You go back to your place. You don't win it. They've won 2 in a row, and they're going home. Do you know what the confidence level is for them? Woo! Just saying. Not all of us bored, but I plan to check out the piece anyway. Thank you so much. No, I was only saying that, at the half of this game, I'm just sitting there going, really? And then I waited the first 5 minutes. I thought, if I'm Steve Kerr, I'm sending the message at half. Like, it's 76-49. We'll put you guys on the bench, and let me see if I can have our guys play really, really hard with the proper intensity. And then if they had gotten back in the game, which they did late, but then let's just see what they do. And then the Rockets had to throw their guys in late. I'd have done it right at the front of the second half. Just said, our guys don't deserve to be playing. We didn't have proper intensity. But again, I want the theme of tonight's show to be the Rockets deserved it. The Rockets were better. I'm not saying, a lot of times we sit in here and we go, God, what did the Warriors do wrong? Or what did the Giants do wrong? What did the Niners do wrong? What did the local team do wrong? I don't know that it was about that. I think it was Amen Thompson setting the tone on Steph Curry. They just weren't letting him get the basketball. Steph Curry or Jimmy Butler, I think they came out with intensity. I think part, obviously, of their plan was, let's get to the rim. Let's be aggressive. Let's be the aggressors. They got to the line 13 times and hit them all in the first quarter. That told me everything I needed to know about where the Rockets' head was tonight. They were going to be aggressive. They were going to get to the rim, and when they got there, they were going to hit shots. You know how many times probably 𝐬𝐫𝐫𝐫 was like, how did we shoot? What they shoot 64% or something? They showed a graphic on TNT tonight that the Rockets are like the 3rd worst playoff shooting team in a single playoff of all time. I think the Bucks actually were the worst, and they won the championship that year in 2021. But generally speaking, especially a young team in a close series against the Warriors, if you continue to shoot free throws at that low of a clip, and I think they were 30th in the league this year, second of the worst, something like that. So there was something in that range near the bottom in free throw, not attempts, but free throw shooting percentage. And so tonight, for them to come out and do what they did, that gave them confidence, obviously. But I had to be a learning point from 𝐬𝐫𝐫 for this young team to be like, look, guys, we got to the line a lot. We were the aggressors. We got to hit free throws. So they were locked in. They were locked in defensively. They were making it really tough on Steph and Jimmy Butler, especially early. They knew that where they wanted to go to get the ball, and they were just cutting it off. This is bottom line. They came out with proper intensity, all those different things, being aggressive offensively, hitting the free throws when they had the opportunity, and they took them out of it. It was 40-24 in the first quarter. I mean, you're like, can they come back from this? And we're 1 quarter in. What else do we got? Here's Steve Kerr. See, okay, I got to get this. I'm going to get this one for you. Let me do this really, really quick because, see, this is a tactic here that Steve Kerr is doing. And I thought he would do it earlier, but I don't think he felt threatened until this point of the playoffs. So I'm going to share this with you here. Let me share this with you because I think this is a really important clip from Steve Kerr. So let me throw this on my computer here real quick. Because I thought I told you about this before that coaches love to talk about the fouls and all those things, but they wait until a certain point of the series to make this point. And Steve Kerr's making this point because I think he thinks it's a series now. So let me just look at this real quick. Hang on 1 second. Let me just hang on. Okay. All right. Steve Kerr is talking. I'm going to get this on the computer because this just tells you that Steve Kerr thinks it's a playoff series now. He's talking about fouls. He's talking about Steph Curry getting hit, those kind of things. Steve Kerr hasn't done that. And during a playoff series, and I've told you this before because I've covered a ton of them, whether it's Phil Jackson or Greg Popovich or any of those old coaches, they'll wait until a critical point of a series, and then they'll send a message to the league without getting fined. They'll walk on that fine line so that they can start getting some calls. And tonight, there it is. I haven't heard Steve Kerr do that. And he's basically said, hey, it's a physical series. It's the playoffs. He hasn't really complained, hasn't really talked about it. And look, we've watched the series, you and I, not technically together, but together. And Steph gets grabbed and pushed and all these kind of things. He gets hit on threes. There's a lot of physicality that they're allowing that they probably wouldn't allow with a lot of players. But again, that's what's going on in the series. So let me see if I can grab this for you very quickly. And then, but he's starting to talk about it, the grabbing, the holding, the getting hit on 3-point shots. So let me just send this to my computer really quickly, and then I'll get this to you, and we can have this discussion from Steve Kerr. Again, give me any of your thoughts tonight as I'm going to send this over to myself. Give me any of your thoughts tonight for the Warriors. What did you think of tonight? Do you think it's a series? Are they giving Houston confidence all of a sudden? Does it make you nervous at all, or do you just think, look, man, this is just part of a series. It happens, and sorry, I'm just trying to put this all in here. This is just what happens in a series, and the Warriors will be fine in 6. And I don't think I'm overreacting. I just think, it's a blowout. Like I said, I don't believe in momentum at all. Okay, there we go. I just sent that over. So let me just get this onto my screen here. Just do a little bit of on-air producing here. Let me just do this real quick and get you this file, because this is important, because what this tells me is Steve Kerr now thinks it's a series. And before this point, and again, I'm not saying Steve didn't respect these guys or anything like that, but it's kind of like, okay, it's a little different. Hang on one sec. I know this came through, so hang on 1 minute here so I can get this to us and we can discuss. There we go. Here's Steve Kerr just moments ago talking about the non-calls and the treatment of one Steph Curry.
Once the shot has been released, you're allowed to hit the guy's arm. And so what's happened in the league this year is players always you're going to outsmart the rules. They know what they're doing. So players all over the league are just taking shots at guys' shooting hands after release, because they know it's not going to be a foul. And I'm very confident that next year the league will fix it, because it's only a matter of time before somebody breaks a thumb or breaks a hand or whatever. But these are the rules. I do believe they're allowed to call a flagrant if they want. The refs can call a flagrant if the guy winds up and takes a shot. But no, it's been happening across the league all year long. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, but we have to take it through the league process to get that changed, and that'll probably happen.
All right, so look, it's not that he doesn't believe what he's saying. He does believe what he's saying. But what he's saying, what that is it's a 3-2 series now. This is a real series, and I'm going to start talking through the media to the officials and to the league and to the NBA that, by the way, my guy Steph Curry is a superstar. He's getting hit on the hand on all of his shots, and this has got to stop. And we got to wait till the offseason to fix it. Look, he's just telling the officials right now, fix it. It's a foul. And so that's his way to do it. And I've been, like I said, I've covered the league and done beats on the league for years and years and years. And that's what starts to happen. Phil Jackson did it in series, NBA Finals series that I covered. Greg Popovich did it with the Spurs. Sometimes it was after game 1. Sometimes that was after game 2. But normally what happened was they would save that bullet for later on in the series. And so they'd wait. And at a particular time, a coach will, whatever his salient point is, and this time it's about the officials, they would send that point to the officials, something about it. So this is about Steph Curry shooting, because Steph Curry has struggled a couple of times in this series. Steph Curry in closeout games, they showed this stat before. In fact, I have it. I think, let me see if I have my picture. I can't remember the exact number, but Steph Curry in closeout games is absolutely great. Something like 28 points a game. Steph had 17 the last game, in game 4. And so everybody thought, well, Steph Curry is going to bounce back in this game. There's no question about it. And so what he's doing is he's sending a message. Now, will it work? Maybe it will. Maybe it'll work for one play. Maybe an official in his head will see it one time and think about it one time and give Steph Curry one call. And maybe it's from beyond the 3-point line with, 20 seconds left in the game. It decides the game. I mean, that's all Steve Kerr is hoping for. He's not hoping that Well, he is probably hoping that he calls it every single time, but it's not going to be called every single time because it hasn't happened to this point in the playoffs. It hasn't been emphasized clearly by the NBA, but Steve is trying to do something to get a call or two in a series that is all of a sudden 3-2, and he doesn't want to go back to Houston. So that's what coaches do in that kind of a situation. They love having that platform. They love being, okay, here's the deal. And you notice how he did it because he's really smart. He didn't call out an official. He just said the league. He said, well, the league is, allowing this and the league is allowing that. He's not saying the officials tonight. He's not going to get fined for it. He's just, in a broad way, essentially telling the officials that my guy's getting fouled. So, and again, I didn't hear the whole clip. I'm very surprised, and maybe this happened in the postgame, because if you watch Curry off the ball, it's constant holding, it's constant hugging, it's constant. Like, I'm surprised to this point Steve hasn't talked about that. And you did see at least one, if not two, I know one for sure, where Steph I wouldn't say went after an official, because there's a huge difference between Steph trying to talk to an official and Draymond Green going at an official. But there was one point, and I told you this morning on the show, where Steph was just like, it had it. Where it was just like, look, I'm getting bumped and grabbed and held every second off the ball. Could you just call one, maybe? That's all. And I'm not complaining about officials. I'm just saying that this is, when it's a series to the team, because they start playing mental warfare. That's kind of what they do. Anyway, 131-116. Do not want to get it mixed up. The Rockets, from start to finish, dominated this game tonight, 40-24 at the end of the first quarter, 76-49 at the half. I'm looking at some of the halftime stuff I had. VanVLEET had 19 at the half. Golden State had 10 turnovers that equaled 13 Houston points at the half. Amen Thompson was crushing Curry. Houston had the pace. Curry had 11 of his 13 in the second quarter, but he didn't score until early in the second quarter. What else? Break points. At the halves, Houston was shooting 69% of the field. Nice. The Warriors were shooting 36. 17-7 from the free throw line in the first half, plus 10, obviously. And the starters, I told you, 62-25 at the half in the starters. Warriors starters just never got it together. So now it's a 3-2 series. Let's go. What else do we have? What else? Not true. Absolutely, positively false. He constantly did. I covered those series, thank you very much. And he did it in a way that was very tactical. But thank you. I appreciate you. And again, we can agree to disagree if that's your thought. Not upset, not mad. We're still friends. But I was sitting in the front row many times when the Utah Jazz and San Antonio Spurs would go at it. And Greg Popovich would talk about the cross screens from Jeff Hornacek and John Stockton being up too high. He would talk about Karl Malone and the way that he would have his knee up on fast breaks into Tim Duncan constantly. When Karl Malone smashed David Robinson across the face, not happy. Like I said, I covered a ton of series back in the day when the NBA was actually physical and the Spurs would win games 78-74. It was constant, believe me. And you could say a lot more back then too. Players did it, coaches did it. It's tactical warfare. It doesn't mean that Popovich was ever soft. He, like I said, he did it in a way that was just extremely smart. He was brilliant about it. He did it. Phil Jackson did it. Every coach did it. Jerry Sloan did it. Like all those teams that I, like I said, I covered in numerous series when there was some physicality in the league. And this is a physical series in today's NBA, but back in those days, believe me, every single coach did it. And they did it a lot more than they do it now. Everybody nowadays is super nice because nobody wants to get fined and nobody wants to, social media and all the different things. Back in the day, if a coach didn't like something, he talked about it. It was constant. It was constant in the league. Constant, I promise. But that's cool. We can agree to disagree. We're friends. Let's see. What else do we got tonight? Yeah, look, I like what Pat Spencer did. He's not going to get any run or anything like that, but I think he gained a lot of respect amongst his teammates. In fact, did you see Draymond give an embrace to him when he left the floor? He loved it. He's like, I'm not the only one getting kicked out around here. That was awesome. So there's that. Let's see, what else do we have here today? Any other thoughts on tonight's game? Thank you for the question, Skills. Here's what I couldn't understand. Why would Green waste a foul about a minute into the game? 40 days. I would agree. Steph did get some early foul trouble too. And that's like when that happened, when Steph got the early two, not that had any impact, but what that does do, I think psychologically for a player is, okay, I got 2 fouls. He's a veteran, and they kept saying that. And again, I watched the TNT broadcast, and Candace Parker was saying it, and I think Spiro Ditas was the one on there, and Dennis Scott was on the sidelines. And they when Steph got the 2, they were talking about how Steve Kerr trusted him and he could stay on the floor and all those kind of things. And yeah, he does. He's a veteran. He's smart. But what that does is it takes away some of your aggressiveness. It just has to. And Draymond Green is constantly saying when he gets in foul trouble, I just play the way I play. I play the way I play. No, you don't. You can't. You can't play that way. When you have 2 fouls early in the game in the first quarter, if a guy's driving to the rim on you, you got to let him score. 2 points is okay when you don't want to pick up your 3rd foul. It's just you've got to prioritize in that situation. You see it happen all the time. Guy has 5 fouls. He's got to back off. So Steph had 2 early, and that takes your aggressiveness away. Just mentally takes your aggressiveness away. And I think I'm not saying that that's why. Again, I don't want to take anything away from the Rockets tonight. They kicked the Warriors' ass. They were ready to play. They did not want to go golfing. They did not want to go to Cancun. That much is clear. They played at their pace. They played their game. So for tonight, I'm not going to sit here and go, Steve Kerr was outcoached, or Curry this, or Butler that, or I'm not going to say it doesn't matter or didn't matter. It's just right out of the gate. Like I said, 13 free throws and 13 makes in the first quarter showed you their focus and showed you their aggressiveness right away. And they were hitting shots. And, some of it is just sometimes shots go in, sometimes they don't. But their defense, Amen Thompson early, he just suffocated Steph Curry. Had a couple of turnovers. They just gained a bunch of confidence. They were at home. They're a young team. They just got rolling. And so they deserve a ton of the credit tonight. It's not one of those games where I would sit back here and say, Warriors just didn't get it done. I mean, they didn't, but it was because Houston was that good. So that's all. Again, I love you, but I'm telling you right now, I was there. I covered all those teams. Believe me, the game was so much more physical back then. I saw it. I was there. I'm telling you, I covered tons of series in the Western Conference back in the day. And if Popovich didn't do it, then he was wrong because it's tactical, but he did. It's a tactical thing that all coaches do. They talk about it all the time. They want to use the media to send messages to their players, to the referees, to the league. It constantly happens. That's what the great coaches do, and they've always done it. Where did Steve Kerr learn that, what he just said tonight? Playing under Phil Jackson and Greg Popovich. If you're not sending a message to the media, you're doing it wrong, and they all do it. It's not even up for debate. I covered the Pistons championship against the Lakers in 2004. Larry Brown did it. Phil Jackson did it. It was warfare back and forth. I was a beat writer. I wrote those things. That's what happens. It goes back and forth. Like I said, I started covering the NBA in 1997. My first assignment, Bulls locker room, 97 and 98. Covered the Pistons and Lakers championship, 2004. I was in Detroit for years. All the coaches did it. I've covered some of in the series, not just covered Larry Brown, Greg Popovich, Jerry Sloan, Phil Jackson. They all do it. It's all tactical. They do it constantly. Like I said, Steve Kerr just did it. What do you think Steve Kerr after the game just casually went on a thing about how his shooter is getting hit after shots? Just for the heck of it? Or do you think he's probably trying to send a message to the league? If you're not doing that, then you're not doing it right. That's what it is. You're constantly sending messages to the league about what you think is wrong about the series and walking the line so you don't get fired. That's what coaches do. What else? Let's see. What else? All right, there you go. What do we got? 76-49. Let me look at the Lakers here, 55-47. Minnesota's just better. I mean, I'm not saying that the Lakers can't come back in the series. I haven't watched any of it. I'll probably jump out of here and we'll watch the second half and we'll talk about it in the morning. But the reality of it is Minnesota matchup-wise is just so much better. I haven't watched, like I said, this first half. Luka goes down to the floor, holds his back. That's probably not great for the Lakers. I do think if they lose this game tonight that the Lakers will probably trade LeBron in the offseason. They just traded for Luka Doncic. They need to get players around Luka that more fit what he does. And either LeBron when he doesn't have the ball or Luka when he doesn't have the ball are relegated to standing around and watching it. So that's pretty much what's going on. Here's a great one. In 2022, Golden State, I remember it, lost to Memphis 134-95 after being up 3-1. They won game 6. Hopefully history repeats. The only thing I would disagree with, not with that comment, is, like I said, Candace Parker said about momentum. The Warriors could get a few points here. They get these guys come in, they come off the bench, and there's going to be momentum. There's some sort of momentum. It doesn't work that way. The Warriors have to come out with a totally different mindset in game 6, like their season is on the line, and play the way with the aggressive nature that the Rockets played with tonight, or they're going to have a dogfight on their hands, and then all of a sudden it becomes nut cutting time. And I don't care how long you've been playing this game and how big of a veteran you are, it's going to be difficult because now the Rockets stay in this game. The Rockets sense that they're going to, have a chance to go back home in game 7. So that's just how big game 6 is. I'm not going to say it's for the season because clearly the Warriors went in game 1 and won this series, but it's also the Rockets didn't have a lot of experience in that. I think they're gaining confidence by the game. That's what I mean, is tonight was a big game to me because you allowed the Rockets to not only get confidence and play more playoff games, some of their young guys, but you saw Amen Thompson. He's starting to kind of settle into the playoffs. Sengun is never a problem settling into the playoffs. I'm not a big Dylan Brooks guy, but as the series goes on, that mental warfare that he plays, that could be more of a factor because all of a sudden it's getting tighter. Warriors going to play loose up to this point. We're up 3-1. So, there's a lot of things that can happen with basically 3 games left and 2 games left. And the Rockets think to themselves, we win game 6. We got game 7 at home, and they're going to play loose. I think so. But the the Warriors come out with the proper intensity. Steph Curry gets going a little bit earlier. You got the home crowd behind you. It's going to, look, I expect the Warriors to win. But at this point, what I'm saying is that it's a 3-2 series, and it's a series at this point. That's what I think. So give me your thoughts on this whole thing. Love to get your thoughts. By the way, no Tolbert tonight on the Bay Area Sports Collective. Tomorrow, Tom will be back. And as I said, we'll do the show tomorrow at 8 a.m. as we always do. But then Tom and I are going to do an early afternoon show in which we'll kind of go over this. And I'd love to get Tom's thoughts and Will early in the afternoon. So put your alerts on at John Lund Unleashed and the Bay Area Sports Collective on YouTube. And we'll get your thoughts tomorrow. And Tom will give us his insights. After all, he was right there in Houston. So I want to get his thoughts on things. Obviously, he will have spoken to Steve Kerr about this whole thing and get his thoughts on his team in game 6. This is why you bring in Jimmy Butler. This is why there's Steph Curry. This is why there's Draymond Green. You should win game 6. I thought they needed to win game 5 just to get some rest. They should win game 6. If they do not win that game, then game 7 is going to be difficult. Let's put it that way. And here's the other thing, too. With Minnesota winning 55-49, we're a minute away from the half, so we'll leave you at halftime, and then we'll check out the second half and allow you to jump for the second half of this game, is that if Minnesota finishes off this game, and Luka Doncic, by the way, now going to the locker room, he's holding his back. I didn't see the play, but I saw the replay at the end of it. Luka Doncic is walking off the court gingerly into the locker room, and Lakers fans don't look all so happy. They look quite a bit nervous. So 55-49 at the half, or about a minute left in the half, and Luka is gingerly walking out. So now if Minnesota wins this series, then there's at least one more game, if not 2, for the Warriors, and all of a sudden they've got to quickly turn around in that series against Minnesota. Minnesota will be the team that is rested. That's not a great way to start that series. So just keeping you up to date on that. Thank you, Skills. It says Doncic's back hurts from I saw him hit the floor, and then I saw him go back there, and I thought he was just, I thought he was playing around trying to get the foul or something like that. But clearly, I mean, like I said, he's limping off. So there you go. Tribe, good to see you. Look, I don't blame Kerr on this. Like I said, I think that the Rockets just played the right intensity. I would say that, Kerr's had a pretty good series. He put in Buddy Hield, who for games 3 and 4 played really, really well, just didn't have it tonight. He had done some good things. The Haka, Steven Adams had worked to a certain extent. I mean, he's done a couple of things in this series that I think have shown that he's pretty good tonight. They weren't ready to play. You put that all on the coach. I don't. I'm fond of the term players play, coaches coach. Like I said, I want the theme tonight to be the show to be Houston just played well, and sometimes you have to give the other team credit. Houston was ready. Houston was intense. Houston was taking the ball to the rim. Houston was aggressive. Houston was great defensively, especially Amen Thompson early in the game. He was locking up Steph Curry. A couple of quick turnovers by Curry in this game. They gained confidence. That's just That's how the game went tonight. Complete blowout. They were hitting shots. They're hitting threes. They were just doing everything, and the Warriors just had no answer for it. So, tonight, I'm not blaming it on Kerr. He said after the game, and this is what, again, something good coaches do, even though I don't believe they believe it. Steve Kerr blamed himself, said he didn't have the team ready to play. Look, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, multiple championships, Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy. Those guys don't need any, win one for the Gipper or fire and brimstone or some kind of shit like that from Steve Kerr to be ready in a closeout game. They don't. They shouldn't, and they don't. Like I said, this came down to the Rockets were ready to play. Did the Warriors contribute to their own demise? Of course they did. But this was absolutely a game that the Rockets won more than the Warriors lost. And I know we have that debate all the time, but I think that's kind of what happened tonight. So there you go. All right, that'll do it. We'll do an hour tonight, and we're going to watch the second half of the Timberwolves and the Lakers. Appreciate you hanging out. Love that you hung out tonight. Thank you so much. Like I said, I love differing opinions. I love when everybody gets into the conversation here. Absolutely great stuff. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, just hit me up right here under the comments on John Lund Unleashed. You can also hit me up X, where people have been listening tonight as well. X at John Lund Radio. Make sure you hit me up on X. Any questions, comments, thoughts on that as well. We'll talk tomorrow about where the Timberwolves and the Lakers are. More on this game tonight with the Warriors and the Rockets, and I'll get some more sound for you tonight. So we'll hear from all the principals from tonight's game. We'll do that at 8 in the morning tomorrow as well, Pacific time. And then early in the afternoon, get those alerts on JohnLundUnleashed.com and the Bay Area Sports Collective. Tommy and I, Tom Tolbert, who, of course, was calling the game on radio tonight with Tim Roy, we'll get Tommy's thoughts on what he thought, not only tonight, but looking ahead as well. We'll get into all that stuff tomorrow. Early in the afternoon, I'm thinking like 12 or 1 or something like that. Tom's going to get back, probably sleep in a little bit, and then Ogden, his producer. In fact, let me see if he hit me back yet to see what's going on here. Let's see. Okay, there's that. But I'll let you know early in the afternoon what's going on as far as Tom is concerned, and we will jump back in tomorrow. So tomorrow, 8 a.m. be here. John Lund Unleashed and the Bay Area Sports Collective. Tomorrow, Tom and I will do a show on the Bay Area Sports Collective and on my channel, John Lund Unleashed, and we'll get more into the Warriors, probably past this game a little bit and look ahead to Game 6 and see what's ahead for the Warriors and what adjustments they can make to end this series. Plus, tomorrow in the morning, we'll get into the Timberwolves and the Lakers. Plus, I got a new piece up, like I said, at JohnLundUnleashed.com, the rookies holding the key to the 49ers season. That's up right now at JohnLundUnleashed.com, so check it out there as well. Thanks for watching tonight on YouTube, on John Lund Unleashed and the Bay Area Sports Collective, and thanks for hanging out on X at John Lund Radio. Hit me up with those questions, comments, thoughts before you get out of here. Please hit that like button. Much appreciated. Anything else we need to hit? I think we're okay. All right. Everybody have a great night. Talk tomorrow at 8 a.m. Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. Again, the Warriors lose it 131-116, and they lead the best-of-7 series with the Rockets.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at JohnLundUnleashed.com. JohnLundUnleashed.com.
Goodbye!